friends, Heidi here from Rain Country. God is good all the time. Well, it's my first video of the season, finally getting to get outside because the weather's somewhat nice. We've got vegetation filling in back here, blueberries, grapevines, and whatnot. So it's starting to look kind of pretty, but it's going to be a little bit noisy. We got jets flying around back and forth and circling and doing all their crazy, stupid stuff that makes no sense. And we got chickens laying eggs back here, and I'm sure Antonio's going to come back here and crow at some point. So I hope y'all don't mind a little bit of background noise. Sometimes it adds to the ambiance anyway. But anyway, it is nice to be able to have a different background every once in a while. So today is about technology. So I had somebody recently ask me about my thoughts on technology. Obviously, we're all using it to some degree. Otherwise, you wouldn't be watching me on YouTube and I wouldn't be putting out videos. But their question was more about, like, as far as Bibles and doing research and things like that. Let me go back just a little bit. When I had my first real smartphone, I mean, and it was a BlackBerry. It was the one with the first one to come out with that solid screen, and you touch the screen, but you actually had to put a little pressure on it. I actually loved it. Not everybody liked it. They like their iPhones better, but I loved that thing. And I was sad when it just got too glitchy, and, after a couple of years. But I was rather addicted to it at first, like so many people were, because it was so fun. You could do everything on that. I mean, it wasn't just a cell phone. It was everything. It was your camera. It was your internet. It was your Facebook. It was your email. It was all of those things. It was your calculator, and it was your Bible. And then one day it just kind of struck me that I was always looking at it all the time. I always had to have that thing, always had to check, did anybody like my Facebook post, or did anybody comment, or, and it just got so easy to carry that and not carry my Bible to church. And it really troubled me. And I remember sitting in church and kind of looking around and noticing hardly anybody carried an actual Bible anymore. They just had their phones. And that just kind of made me think that maybe I shouldn't be quite so dependent on my phone. So I made it a point to start leaving it at home. And when I went to church, I took a real Bible. And I kind of fell into this phase like a lot of people do. And I got a little bit judgmental towards people constantly using their phone for everything. And, it's really unfair. But at the same time, I think it is important that we do realize this dependency we have on technology and start thinking of ways that we can counteract that, because it may not always be there for us. I think there's good in it. I think there's plenty of good in it. I mean, we get a lot of great teachings from other homestead channels, pastors, and so much more, and then able to just quickly do the research into many different things. And it's a lot faster than pulling out books. And maybe you don't have all the books you'll need. You can look things up very quickly online and find the information, and it's just literally right at your fingertips. And so I believe technology has a lot of good to it, and we can use it for good. But there's also bad to that. And I think we have to really, be careful not to be addicted. Now, once I took that break from my phone, leaving it at home all the time, I did that for quite a while. But then I started realizing, especially once my kids moved out, and it was just like, I just didn't feel comfortable, especially if I was going out to friends, I was going to be gone all day. Even if I didn't look at my phone while I'm there, I like having it on hand in case there's an emergency and someone needs to get a hold of me. But also when we are with our friends, sometimes I do pull out my phone so I can look things up quickly as we're discussing different things. And then here's the other thing. Even though I was so sold on only reading a hard copy Bible, it got to be more and more difficult. The more that I had my YouTube channel, and I used to do my video editing sitting at a laptop pretty close to the screen, constantly staring at the screen all day, and it takes hours to edit a video. And it was so hard on my eyes that it got to a point where I could hardly read anything for a long period of time, even with reading glasses on, without feeling eye strain. Now I've come up with a solution for video editing that makes it a lot easier on my eyes, and it's worked a lot better. But my eyes aren't necessarily getting better, but they're not getting any worse. So I don't judge people for using audio or using technology to listen to their Bibles or read books, or because I'll listen to books now rather than and listen to my Bible more than actual read, though we do a lot of reading along with when it comes to the Bible. When it comes to just listening to things for just the education or entertainment purposes, I just listen. I don't have the luxury of just sitting down and reading books anymore. Part of that is due to time, because I always have something going on, something I need to do, but also because it is a lot harder for me to read. So I think there's a few things I guess I want to cover is that, and the most important one being losing your addiction to your smart device. It definitely can be a very useful thing to have. In fact, my phone is what I film all my videos with. It's what I take all my photos with. I do everything that I need to do with my phone, but I also prefer not to always be staring at it all the time. I prefer, because it's harder on my eyes to have to try to look things up and read things on my phone than it is to look at something across the room on a big screen. That is a lot easier on my eyes. So there's one thing there, but also just getting out of that habit of feeling like we always have to be staring at our phone. We always have to be texting and seeing who likes our stuff, because, you know, that is kind of an enslavement of its own. But even for the things that it's useful for, calculator, you know, to look up information and to read books or listen to books, we need to make sure that we have backups for all of this. So I would never get rid of my hard copy Bible because I have one I can read it on my phone or read it on my computer. I will always keep that thing because I can still read it if I have to with my reading glasses on. I just might not be able to read for long periods of time. I might only be able to do a few minutes at a time and then give my eyes a break and a few minutes at a time, but I still have that. It is good to always have hard copy books of anything that we need the information for, because we cannot guarantee that this information that we're getting online, whether it be through YouTube channels or looking up websites or whatever it is, we can't be guaranteed that we'll always have access to it. So just like with anything else, we've got, you know, if we're dependent on electricity all the time, but then we don't have electricity, what are we going to do? We need backups. You know, if we're dependent on city water, we don't have a well, what is your other options? You need to think of options that you can have in case something goes wrong. Or even if it's not losing power, what if something just simply breaks down and you can't use it? Like our washing machine back in 2020, and we had to get a new one and it took us 6 weeks. Well, I had an option that we had set up years prior to that, and that's my off-grid laundry setup. And that I was so grateful to have when I didn't have an electric washing machine to do the work for me. Yes, it took longer. Yes, it was work, but it was worth it to me to have that and not have to run down and pay a lot more at a laundromat. And that would take me more time anyway, because I'd have to run back and forth, and I'm not doing that, or wait down there so nobody steals my stuff. I don't have time for that nonsense. So always having backups for everything. Use what you have. Use your, you know, if you have electric power, use it to get yourself in a better place. If you have a freeze dryer or an electric dehydrator, use it to put your food up, to get yourself to that point where if none of the stuff is available, at least you have it. But then when you don't have power, you also need to be making sure you're developing skills that you can put food up without that, such as dehydrating without the use of electricity, whether it be a fire, using your wood stove, or using just hanging things to dry. If you live in a not too humid climate, you can usually do that. Anyway, I could go on and on and on about all of that stuff, but I have many videos on those very topics. But I'm bringing those up because it's the same idea. Use these things for your advantage to get yourself in a better place as much as you possibly can, but don't be so reliant on it that when it's gone, you don't know what to do. Always know what you're going to do in case it's no longer there. Hard copies for information and whatever else. So anyway, I hope that gives you an idea where I stand as far as technology. It can be good, it can be bad. Use it to your benefit and be prepared for it to not be there when you need it. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Any thoughts, ideas you'd like to share, please put those in comments down below. And thanks for watching. Take care and God bless.